You have to believe in people more than they believe in themselves. Little kiss to Steve-O. Oh, that was nice. I love airplanes. I love to travel. I have 120 or 109 airplanes, model airplanes in my office. You know, my dad worked for the airline since I was a baby, so I've been around airplanes, and I love the whole point of taking off, you know, going to a different level. The sun's always shining above the clouds, that whole thing, right? And it just, you get a different perspective when you're up higher. And so that's why I wanted to title it Higher Life Design, because we either design your life or you live it by default. There's a lot of books that kind of say the same thing, but what we really pay for while we listen to different sermons and go to different seminars and listen to MP3s and podcasts is its perspective, right? And that's what you're creating, you know, right here with your show. It's your perspective, and then and you're asking the questions and you're getting other people's perspective, and that's why you've got a successful show here. I'm on the front row of these seminars, I'm taking notes, and I'm like, you know what? I just need to figure it out. I don't know when I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get to the top of the mountain, whether I die trying, or I'm gonna get there. And so I had that resolve. I remember when I was in between going to the Naval Academy and then transferring into TCU. TCU was out of scholarships. So I had to walk on. And well, the cool thing is I actually played. Like, I've got one shot. So when I get into two-a-days, I need to be ready. I need to lead the drills. All the drills that they do, you know, the 2 days of freshman, like, even though I was a junior, I had to come in with the freshmen 2 days earlier to kind of see, you know, they were going to kind of see what we were like on the drills and footwork and all that kind of stuff. So I had to get in there. And so I was leading every drill because I had to get noticed, and I had to show my speed. So back to the discipline part is I got by myself in the, hot summer heat of Texas. I'm going, putting parachutes on, running around the field, probably looking crazy, but hey, that's what I was doing to get faster. And so my discipline is carried through, in the weight room, in business, in persistence, and that stick-to-itiveness. In my book, I talk about that whole thing about the right time and the right place. That's cliche, and you know what? It's about creating the opportunity when you're ready. Like my coach Weatherby over at the Naval Academy, I don't know, it was 20 years ago. He said, luck is when opportunity meets preparation, right? And so the moment's prepared for you if you're prepared for the moment. For those of you that are listening right now, you might have been already trying whatever you're doing for 10 years and you're still not successful, but what if it's the 11th year? What if it's the 14th year, right? And you kind of take all that 10 years of experience that you've been experiencing and then invest it in the 11th, right? Like Jim Rohn talks about, you hear people that say, well, I've been doing that for 29 years. Well, you've probably been doing the same dang thing for 29 years every year in a row, but you're not investing the 29 years of experience into the 30th year, right? And that's the application part that we have to learn, because we all have a story. We've all been through stuff. We make our misery our ministry. We make our mess our message, and we need to learn from that. And I don't care where you're at, there's always something you could teach us. Anybody can teach us. Just working hard isn't going to get you there. And that was a big aha moment for me. You have to get your skill up. Because heck, you try to cut down a tree with a hammer, it's not going to work. Right, you've got to get your skill up. And so one of the things that I learned from another mentor of mine is he talks about this thing called the gap model. And there's always a gap where you're at and where you want to go, right? And it's like, okay, find the gap and then work really, really, really hard to get there. Well, that doesn't work. In your mind, when you have an idea of where you want to be, like a certain weight or a certain physique or a certain money goal or whatever, what have you, that's in your mind. It's kind of like the physical representation to that is the horizon out there, like where the sky meets the ground or the sky meets the water, And the thing is it's out there and you see it, and that's kind of like your North Star, but you actually never get to the horizon, okay? Because when you go 200 miles, what do you see? You see another horizon, right? But it gives you direction. The problem is we're making the goal the horizon. What we do is we find out, we look at where we're at, and then we make the goal the horizon, and then we're mad because we never get there. We're frustrated, we're trying to get there, we're working harder and harder and harder. Here's another way to look at it that I think is going to help all of us here, is instead of measuring your goal up against the horizon from where you're at here, what you need to do is measure where you're at, and then measure where you came from yesterday, and then measure where you came from last week, and then measure where you came from last year. And that's more edifying because you're going to see the progress you just made. And so use your horizon as the North Star, as your GPS in a direction, but continue to measure yourself from what you did yesterday and the week before, the month before, and continue to do that because you're just going to be more frustrated. You're just going to be more pissed off. And when you're doing that and you're trying to work harder, it's like trying to go faster in the wrong direction. People ask me, well, how did you get through those 20 years? I didn't go through 20 years. I took it day by day. You know what I'm saying? I would have, I don't know, jump off the cliff or something, man, if I take 20 years at one time, But that you got to measure. You got to measure from where you started, not where you're going. And you got to be able to draw from experience and draw from your stories, because guess what? We all have stories. But if you try to block those stories out and not feel those stories, then they're pretty much forgotten, and you won't be able to pull that out and share that story, 20 years later that might impact somebody's grandson down the road. It's that type of ripple effect. So keep moving forward, because if you stop the ripples.